Alright, so let's start applying some style to our own web pages. First, I'm going to give you a quick challenge, and that is to create a new folder inside your Complete Web Developer course folder called 2CSS, and then create a new HTML file and display it both in your text editor and in your browser, just like this. Go for it. Good luck. Alright, I hope you managed that. I'm going to do it by getting the Complete Web Developer course open, and then I'm going to right click or control click and select new folder. I'm going to call it 2-CSS, and then I'm going to go back to my text editor. I'm going to create a new file, just like that, and then I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save it inside Complete Web Developer course 2CSS, and I'm going to call it web page with style.html. It's still an HTML file, even though we're going to have some cascading style sheets inside it. There we go. And then finally, I'm going to go back into my CSS folder here and just open up web page with style into Google Chrome. And there it is. So I'm going to say goodbye to my hello world. I'm going to do a quick test just to make sure that everything's linked up correctly. So I've put some text in there and I'm just going to refresh that. There we go. Lovely. So I hope you managed to do that. Don't worry if you didn't, it's just a bit of file manipulation really. Now I'm going to put in the very basics to get us an HTML page, as we've seen before. So we'll start with an HTML tag. Then inside that we'll have our head, and then we'll have our body section. And I'll just put in a title tag as well, because I like to have a title. We'll call it web page with style. And then if we just refresh that, you can see the content has disappeared, but web page with style has appeared there. All right. Now there are actually 3 different ways of adding CSS to your web pages, and I'm going to show you the first one in this video, and this is Inline CSS. So, very quick challenge. Can you create a pair of paragraph tags and put a sentence, whatever sentence you like, between them? Go for it. All right, hope you managed that. Pretty straightforward. Paragraph tags are just a P inside the angled brackets there. And I'll have the classic phrase, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. All right, so now we've got a paragraph. It's not styled at all. So if we want to bring some style into this, if we were going to use inline CSS, we would do the following. Inside the paragraph tag there, we would add a style attribute. And then, just as we usually have with our attributes, we have an equals and then some quotes. And then we can put any CSS we like into this style attribute. So for example, if I wanted to change the color of the text, I might say color. Sadly, it doesn't work if you spell color correctly, but there we go. Color without a U and then blue. So you notice we've got a colon in between there, and that's how CSS works. You have the thing that you want to change, and then a colon, and then the value of that thing. So in this case, color, colon, blue. Fairly straightforward. Save, refresh, and we have some blue text. Nice and easy. If we wanted to have text which was twice as big, then we would add a semicolon, and we use a semicolon to separate different stylings. So we might want font size, and we might want to set the font size to 200%. And that will then set the font size of this text to twice as big as it was before. Let's have a look. There we go. I've just realized I've got of the lazy dog there. Let's make it over. Brilliant. So that's really all there is to inline CSS in terms of how it works. I'm going to give you a very quick challenge here. Can you create an H1 header tag with the content CSS is cool, and then make it green and half the size it used to be? So an H1 tag with the content CSS is cool, but then green and half the size it would otherwise have been. Go for it. All right, hope you managed that. H1 tag, of course, just an H1 in angled brackets. And then CSS is cool. It certainly is. So without any styling at all, it would look like that. With some style, we'd set the color to be green. And then if we want it half the size, we would use font size 50%. All right, let's take a look. Fantastic. Now, one thing that might be slightly surprising there is that it's got a lot smaller than you might expect. That's because this percentage is actually relative to the default paragraph size. So if we make this 100%, it will make it the same size as a paragraph. So if we actually wanted it the same size as the usual H1, the default there is 250%. So an H1 by default is 2.5 times bigger than a paragraph. But don't worry too much about that. We're looking at the specific CSS styles later on in this section. For now though, we're done with inline CSS, and in the next video we'll see how to add CSS in a different and better way.